All right, welcome to MikroBench Row. I've got one here, one there. If you haven't already, please check out MikroBench. Build a MikroBench out of 2 stair treads. That was this one. And then, or the other one, I'm not sure which one, anyhow. But it's on Instructables.com. And I built these. Now, they're going to get put into use. I'm going to use 2 of them. I have about 4 or 5 laying around somewhere, but I'm going to use 2 of them now with these R&R clamps. And I'm going to get them set up first. I know I have some stuff coming in that's about 5 inches, so I'm just going to rough them to 5. I just did a 12-inch glue up. That's why they're out so far. I'm going down to just a little over 5. All right, so if you haven't already checked out, again, the MikroBenches, be sure and do so, especially if you get into like doing professional stuff. It's worth the time, the effort, and everything. Again, I've got these mounted on some Harbor Freight benches that I had laying around, and so they're mounted on there. They're all built to set. They're all set up. The holes and set up for it. But I'm going to do 2 glue ups right now, so I'm just going to walk through it real quick. And that is part of the MikroBenches I try to have everything that I'm going to need for the glue up. So I've got my I'm going to use Gorilla Glue. I have it up there all ready to go, and it's upside down. It's inverted. I'm going to put the Gorilla Glue on, obviously the gloves, right? I'm going to get a brush for it so that I'm all set to go on that. Now these are some pretty good sized glue ups. Okay, so I'm going to use the original Gorilla Glue just on the outside surfaces because that's where I really want my, I don't want anything to show, right? And then I just happen to have some of this around. I bought it, it's probably 2-3 years old. I rarely use it. I don't know anything about it. I'm not sponsored by anybody, so it's what you get, what you see is what you get. So I am going to use that, but basically to start just use up all this glue, right? Plus, the regular Gorilla Glue is going to put a huge amount of pressure on the whole thing, because if I were to do the whole thing, right, all the way through into the center, and these clamps can handle it, but I don't need that. I don't need pressure. Anyhow, so I am going to go ahead and do that. And then when I do, I'll catch that, but when I put the Gorilla Glue on, I'm going to make sure it goes right to the edge. So I'm just going to get started on that. I'm sure Gorilla Glue Company would love to see it applied that way. Hey, here's the deal. So again, if I look at try to find the date on it, it's probably even older than that. In fact, I see something here. It looks like it could be from 2019 or 2018 or something. So, but I want to use it up. That's the nice thing about prototypes. So we'll figure something out here. Okay, now the regular Gorilla Glue just along the edges. And I sure hope somebody's not going to come along and say, hey, there's a chemical reaction that can occur there that's going to explode. I don't think so, but that's what I'm doing. And then that's all I'm doing. It's just along the edges, putting it back up there where it belongs. Somewhere I've got my brush. And this is where I'm really sensitive to making sure I brush from the inside to the out. And that way you want to cover every single square, cubic, whatever, every tiny bit of space. Now I got a little bit of the 2 glues mixed up there, but rather than leaving it really thick, brushing it to me works much better. I can go ahead and I can put that guy to make myself some space. I'm not putting any glue on the other piece, the meat, the peanut butter and jelly, right? But now I need to put some Gorilla Glue on this guy. Again, brushing it from the inside to the out to make sure I've got every bit of those surfaces. Inside out, inside out, inside out. If you brush from the outside in, it'll work, but then you're going to get Gorilla Glue all over the outside of the edge of the board, and you really don't need that, right? It's bad enough getting Gorilla Glue where it is. Now, this is where I want to make sure I have the right orientation, because remember that waning that I wanted to keep? So that's going to match to the waning on this one. Then, naturally, I'm going to get glue on everything. I'm going to, original snugness, I'm just going to line up the tops or the bottoms. Either one, doesn't make any difference. Again, one's longer than the other anyhow, right? So it's good to line up one or the other. And then I am not using a protector because we're going to recut this and on the outside anyhow. So if I make little red marks or even indentations, not a big deal. Now I'm going to go ahead and use the wrench, if I can find it. Yep, there it is. Okay, it's that one. But before I over snug the bottom clamps, I don't want to get too much pressure on the bottom. Now, if I were doing an I-beam, then I would put a strip in the middle, because the I-beam, the web is going the opposite direction. A strip in the middle puts perfect pressure on it. But when you're doing a solid glue up like this, and that's why I wanted to separate making of posts from making I-beams, because there's two different ways of doing it. But you're going to have pressure on the bottom, but then I'm also going to want pressure on the top, but not too much of either. If I put all the pressure on the bottom right from the get-go, then the top is going to probably come apart a little bit. Again, I mentioned this in some of the other ones, but when you're wearing any kind of gloves like this, do not get them in there in that thread, as it really, really hurts, especially on the DeWalt type of gloves or the Milwaukee gloves. All right, now I'm going to snug the top a little bit, and then I'm going to put a few more clamps on there. All right, so now that I've got the clamps on and I used the impact wrench, now I'm going to use the manual wrench. I can just control it better. And what I'm doing, number one, when I set this thing in the clamps in the first place, I wanted to focus on this waning top rather than the other side, which doesn't have as much character. But here what I'm doing is I'm alternating top, bottom, top, bottom. Then if you notice, there's just a little bit of a gap right there, even though I have the clamps on both sides of it. And that's what happens when you get into this thicker material. It doesn't want to flex at all. And so now the Gorilla Glue might feel that. In fact, I can see it starting to come up right now, right there. But rather than take a chance on that, that's a perfect spot to just put another clamp. Okay, so that guy is as good as it's going to get. I'm seeing the Gorilla Glue ooze out, which is exactly what I want, because that'll fill the voids. There's a little spot right here, probably wouldn't hurt for me to put another clamp on. And then I can't really get underneath with the camera, so I'm just going to hope that the bottom is good. And then I'm just going to go ahead and do the second one. Now that one, with the talking and everything else, took about maybe 15 minutes. If I didn't talk, then be good for a lot of people, right? But I would have got it done a lot faster. again, the alternating thing. Up, down, and then there's also something to be said for, there's a lot of liquid inside there right now. There's a lot of glue, right? There's a lot of hydrostatic pressure, and you know, they use hydraulics to lift a lot of stuff. So it could be preventing them from coming together. So I think by letting it sit for a minute or something like that, it just starts to kind of work its way around inside, maybe start coming up towards the edges. It doesn't hurt to wait for a minute or two. Okay, so as I suspected, there was one spot down here on this inner board that was a little bit shy of touching on the jointer, and it's a little bit of a problem, but hopefully there's enough Gorilla Glue in there to fill it. Other than that, everything is filled quite nicely, and it's starting to ooze. In fact, it's starting to drip on the floor. I gotta get some, I either get newspapers down there or I just do nothing at all. Actually, if you just leave it on the floor, it will just, the last thing you want to do is wipe it up. That's not Gorilla Glue. It's not even a gorilla, but it looks like a polar bear. Anyhow, the best thing to do is just leave it, because once it dries, it just scrapers up with the hide scraper. So I have the two of them ready to go now. They're in the GlueUp stage. Again, this last one took probably 6-7 minutes to do because I wasn't chatting so much. The other one would have taken the same. And then that's, we'll see how those turn out. Now, normally I would wait until like the next day. I like to let Gorilla Glue sit almost overnight if I can, but it's only about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and I might be able to remove the clamps tonight yet. We'll see.